I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret music reviews. Today, we're going to review a quick turnaround for this artist.
Yeah.
Iamamiwhoami. I did practice that.
Good job.
Bounty, the second album. We reviewed Kin last fall, her first album, which was, I think we liked it. We had a lot of good things to say.
Yeah.
This is definitely, it's a female artist with she has a very, almost Bjork-esque vocal.
Or like The Knife, I would think.
The Knife, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And but it's electronica that has a really cool sound. And one thing that we commented on in Kin, Tom, that you brought up to me just a minute ago, which is very astute, is that Kin really suffered from dynamics. I mean, you could tell that the focus of that album was to capture a sound. It was really define a very pure electronica sound that's unique to the artist, and that's something we see a lot. Purity Ring did that. It's something very prominent right now in electronic music, is to define and really hone in on a sound. But sometimes electronic artists kind of sacrifice the other aspect of what really makes a song special, which is songwriting.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention to both, no matter what genre you're in. And I feel like that's one thing I really wanted to see Iamamiwhoami improve on their second album. So, when I saw that this was such a fast turnaround, I was a little worried that the songwriting might even take more of a hit. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that change.
And now apparently this was actually created and written for the most part before Kin came out, and then they kind of revisited this and perfected it a little bit. Maybe, I think, added a track or two. I could do a little bit more research on that, but then decided to release it here in 2013. And I think that's kind of an interesting approach. You mentioned with the dynamics, that was the big thing that we harped on about Kin, and I feel like that is not even a problem on this album. There are a lot of great low points in the sound as far as intensity is concerned, where things are allowed to build. You get those calm spots to really make the more upbeat parts really pack a punch.
And her approach to the songwriting, where she's using more dynamics and changing the song structure, paying more attention to the songwriting, allows kind of this diverse world within the track to come out, where you have parts that are more direct and more melody based, but then she also balances that with these really atmospheric parts. A lot of distortion, and even almost just kind of like a fuzzy effect in her vocals are like pushed down into the mix and stuff, and it makes it, the production was turned up. It sounds a little bit brighter, but at the same time, the contrasting effect has an allure to it. It's a different sound than Kin. Kin was a lot darker sounding. It was more downtrodden, and you really had to kind of dig through it to really like understand how she composed this record. And then on Bounty, it's a bit more bright sounding.
And track by track, because of that dark sound, that really it has a lot of attraction for me, just because that's kind of the music that I get into. So I think that the highlights on Kin for me were a lot better than the highlights on this album, especially those first couple tracks on Kin were just killer. But then from there, like we said, we felt like it got a little stale. Here, I don't think it ever really gets stale, but at the same time, I don't think it ever really hits a 10. I don't think any one track really stands out enough to make me say, God, I gotta keep listening to this song. I think it's a consistent, pretty solid listen, but nothing about it really blows me away.
Yeah, I really felt, and Tom, your track picks are actually kind of different than mine, but I really felt like the center of this album was really strong, and then I thought the end of the album, the last two tracks in particular, kind of trailed off. I didn't find them to be as memorable, and maybe that's because there's just not enough change, and there's not enough definition in the song, in the sound. So maybe she took it too much the other way, even. It focused a little bit too much on songwriting, and then didn't really hone that sound to make it, just that deadly catchiness that some of
there's a balance you gotta have between those two. I think it's cool to see this artist playing around with how those elements work together, and at least to see diversity between the albums that we've reviewed. But I'd still like to see a little bit more. Yeah.
And one thing that I want to say is that there is still a few tracks on here that are just clearly stronger than other, and I think that kind of that lack of warmth also kind of makes it harder to attach to this record. So I feel like where I like a lot of the things that she's doing, I like her approach in songwriting. I like a lot of her vocals on this album. She never captured an emotional tone with me, and so unfairly even, I'll admit, I feel like I'm rating this album lower than what I actually like. I have a lot of good things to say about it, but I wish she would have made a bigger statement early on in the album, and then later on in the album also made another big statement. I feel like the album is definitely missing some bookends of why the hell should I care?
Yeah.
And that's something that I think an experienced artist knows how to do. And so hopefully, we've seen improvement between Kin and Bounty, and hopefully the next, record is even better and more in line with exactly what we're looking for. Tom, what are you going for this?
I'm going 72.
Okay, I think I'm right there with you. Maybe slightly higher. 73.
All right.
So it rounds to 73. You probably should have just gotten 73.
Yeah, my score doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't.
The thing about our scores is that we really don't buy into our own system that much. Like, we think it's important that we give you some sort of numerical reflection just so you guys can tell where we're at in comparison to the other albums. But what we care about is dissecting these albums, tearing them apart, and putting them back together in their functional pieces and how it affected us as the listening experience. We really think that that's the value in music reviews, is helping other people, you guys, our viewers, understand how we're approaching listening to the albums that we're doing, how we understand, how we listen to essentially interpret the effects of the album on us.
Yeah.
So that's really important. Hopefully you guys can understand that and realize that we care more about the words and the conversations that we have with you guys about the album than we do our actual score, because it's kind of wonky. 70s is a good score.
It is.
For us, like, that's an album that we really like. Definitely something that's solid and that you guys should check out. So if you're into electronica, or even like just electronica with female vocals, definitely check out Bounty when you get a chance. Let us know what you thought at www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and tell us what albums from 2013 you've been into lately and we should review. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.